Chapter 7. Churching. The crows came back next morning at a more respectable hour of 8:30. They were still loud and still annoying, but I figured, hey, at least they let me sleep in this time. And for what it's worth, I still had plots against their feathery lives. Make no mistake, I was a varmint killer now, and the only one around here with a weak stomach. If not the only one around here with a weak stomach. Mom was already up cooking pancakes, and the smell of batter frying in a pan mixed with hints of maple syrup and coffee filled the house. There were still piles of collapsed empty boxes everywhere and a laundry list of things to do to the house now that we moved in. But Mom seemed delightfully ignorant of these things, in favor of breakfast. She was humming a tune I had always heard her hum while she worked. I could never tell if it was a real song or something she made up. And the entire scene was nostalgic and serene, even though the house seemed foreign to me, and the crows were definitely not something I was used to. I stumbled downstairs in search of pancakes and coffee and found Mom dressed in her Sunday best already and serving an empty table for two, like she knew I was getting up. "We have to hurry this morning, Chris. Church starts in an hour and a half," she said. She was being excessively cheery for this hour, given my current level of coffee consumption. "Morning," I said, a wash of sleepy skepticism blanking in my face. "Since when do we go to church, let alone one this early in the morning on a Sunday?" I should preface by saying that we did go to church occasionally, but not regularly by any stretch. My family has always believed in God, and while I'm sure there's a right church to go to and wrong ones, the wrong ones start as far as I'm concerned. The wrong ones start early as far as I'm concerned, and it was still way too early to be thinking about Jesus pre-coffee intake, especially before pancakes and a good shower. He would understand, being the loving God that he was, and the creator of the aforementioned coffee, and first and foremost. Your father has invited us to go, and it's a nice chance to meet the community, and we're going. The service starts at 10, so eat some breakfast, shower, and get dressed. Nice clothes, she said, more verbally organized than said. "Yes, Mother," I replied, my face donning a fake smile and demeanor. Whatever, the pancakes were the best, like they always have been. And I could sit through a sermon and some songs if it meant maintaining the relative peace of the morning. I quickly grabbed a shower. The antiquated pipes of the farmhouse began knocking in the walls, and the hot water finally came through. Shaved the precious little stubble off my face and combed my hair into something resembling stylish before throwing on a pair of jeans and a plaid button-down shirt. Untucked. Let's not get crazy here. It's only church after all. "You're wearing that?" Mom criticized. "Have you seen the people around here, Mom?" I replied. "I'd love to fit in, but I don't exactly have a large stock of camouflage to accessorize my outfit with." She laughed and then embarrassedly tried to stifle the laugh and let me be. The church was a 10-minute drive down the chip seal road, and we did not see a single car in sight the entire drive. A blessing in disguise, I guessed, as most times we were late, we had to weave in and out of crazy drivers on the QEW or the 401, depending on where we were late for. You could be late in the country and still make it on time. Empty country roads were made for it. The modest church building was a different story, though. I'd been surprised and bewildered with how little people there were in the country, but Sundays at church were like a magnet for iron fillings in their lives. The building's parking lot was full, with trucks opting to park on the grass of the farmer's field next door, and the people in suits and patterned dresses were all slowly making their way to church. I scanned the people I could see the building as we parked for Sarah or Jay, and hoping I'd find someone or at least seen before. No luck, though, so I made my way with my mom to the front doors. We shook hands with the greeter, made our way inside, and an organ was being played. Old-timey hymns filled the air, while people chatted and caught up around the pews. It was nice, and it felt like what I'd always pictured church must feel like, for people who go on a regular basis. I heard a "Chris" from the crowd behind me, and Jay and a particularly attractive blonde girl came weaving through the standing congregation in the back towards me and Mom. "Jay? Jay," Mom almost shouted, giving him a hug. "Have you seen Chris's father? He invited us today, and I figured we should ask him where we should sit. Uncle Jared plays in the band. He'll be up front," Jay said, and Mom looked over the heads of the crowd and spotted him, making his way up front. "And you can sit anywhere you want, Miranda. Church folk don't bite much, at least not here in Peyton County." It occurred to me that we might just be the talk of the town, and that people might know our names, and it was weird to hear someone who was ostensibly a stranger to Mom say her name. Jay was wearing a nicer plaid shirt than me, with a jet black pair of jeans and polished cowboy boots. A leather matched his belt and bolo tie. His girlfriend wore a brightly flowered summer dress with white sandals. I'm assuming they were together at this point because she had his hand in hers, and every other time I saw Jay, he was in hunting clothes or ones covered in grease from working in or on around his truck. "You sitting with your mom or us for the service?" Jay asked. "That depends. Who's us?" I said, motioning to the girl. "Oh, that's right. We haven't met. I'm Kylie. I live down the road from you and Sarah." The girl's voice was delightful and bubbly, the perfect complement to Jay's sarcasm and grit. She mentioned a new boy was moving into the Bucksworth's house. "Come on," Jay said, motioning with his head to the pews on the far side of the church. "I'll show you where the youth type sits." The front 2 rows of the side of the sanctuary seemed reserved for the youth group. A half dozen seniors like myself filled the back with a mixed bag of junior high kids and sophomores filled the absolute front. We took our seats, and the preacher took the stage, and the congregation began singing. Jay stepped into the pew first, then Kylie in the middle, with me on the end. And the congregation seemed to know all the words to any song the band started playing. There were hymnals in the pews, sure, but none of them seemed to be used for a while, evidenced by the dust on the top of the pages. It both made me feel like I was truly connected place of worship, and a clique that I most certainly did not fit in, all at once. I couldn't sing along if I wanted to. The words were foreign, and I had to listen to each verse to hear the words while hoping to catch a chorus enough times to sing along at the end. All the churches I had been to so far sang from projected words on a screen above the stage, or actually used the hymnals if they were older, more traditional congregations. But I knew how to read sheet music at least, and this was a type of new, strange thing I really had never seen before. I was in the front row, seeing and standing in while everyone else just sang. A shoulder bumped mine from the aisle, and when I looked, I realized what a godsend this place must be. It was Sarah, in a similarly flower-dressed Kylie, bumping me over to get a seat. The whole row shuffled while the last song was ending, and we sat down together. "You're my spot," she said with a giggle. "Well, you were late," I replied, trying to feign any coolness I could around her. I liked her, anyways. This wasn't just a cute girl in a hoodie next door. She was hot. She smiled, and she shook her head at my joke. As we sat down, Jay moved to put his arm around Kylie, and I realized it was more for comfort than cuteness, though, my God, they were an adorable couple. Sarah and I stayed shoulder to shoulder and somewhat awkwardly turned our heads to watch the preacher from the stage. The angle we had to look meant that while I was probably supposed to be looking at the preacher and paying attention to what he was saying, about my life and sin and Jesus, whatnot, instead, I was looking at almost past Sarah's face, neck, and shoulders. The preacher could have been preaching a custom sermon about how I was personally either going to hell or going to heaven, to the whole congregation, my mother included. I wouldn't have heard a word, not sitting next to a girl like this. She was pretty, and admiring God's handiwork in a church seemed like the right thing to do. Chapter 7. Hope you guys liked it. Be sure to check out the links in the description below. That's where the links to the book are. You can get it in paperback or in ebook for Kindle. We'll probably be releasing a Kobo later on later on in the year. Just depends how sales go and stuff like that. So, yeah, take care.